Hey guys, and welcome to the DBGA Podcast, a podcast where we interview top level executives inside leading and growing companies in the beauty and e commerce industry. Excited to have our guest today, Dujon Smith. We'll be diving into his story and a little bit about what his company does and some engaging insights into the beauty industry. So I'll go ahead and kick it off to you, Dujon. Could you please introduce yourself and tell a quick snippet of your story and your background prior to working at MyBlockSkin?
Perfect. And first off, Rachel, thank you so much to the team for having me on your platform. It is an honor to be here today. Again, I'm Dujon C. Smith. I am the founder and CEO of MyBlockSkin, which is a new CPG brand that is disrupting the sun care industry. I'm originally from Chicago, grew up in a suburb called Evanston, Illinois, and have always had a passion of around education, technology, and just community development. And after having the unique honor and pleasure to travel, live, work, and study to 55 countries, I've seen just the unique needs of individuals from diverse skin tones as it relates to sun care protection. And I figured that, with all the brands that are out there, I haven't seen one that's specifically targeting and bringing men of color into the conversation. And over the last couple of years, just seeing clinical trials data, articles from the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, BBC on men of color dying from higher rates of skin cancers and melanoma, I was like, I need to launch a brand to educate this demographic. But at the same time, I really wanted to create an inclusive product that would work for all skin tones and all skin types, from porcelain to espresso, just to ensure that everyone is thinking about sun care protection, not just for Memorial Day to Labor Day, but all year round.
Okay, very interesting. So you kind of touched upon how you got into the beauty industry, but what is about your job or industry that you're passionate about?
Yeah, so overall, to take a little step back to really talk about my professional career and my journey. So after growing up in Evanston, I went off to undergrad at Pepperdine University. I studied international business, and then I minored in nonprofit management and accounting. I was able to work for wonderful places like UK Parliament as a researcher in the House of Commons. I worked for a startup LED manufacturer doing sales and marketing for a startup in Shanghai while I was living there for a bit. My finance and accounting roots brought me to Deloitte in the UK as well, working as a tax accountant focused on private equity, hedge funds, and real estate investment trusts. From there, I did a complete 180. I love living in London, but I was not going to be a tax accountant for the rest of my life, and worked in the entertainment industry for a bit, casting for every game show you could possibly think about. And while I was there, just really spending more time hearing people's stories and doing what I could to get them on TV, I got back to my roots of finance and accounting and worked for a $25 billion hedge fund in LA before joining Accenture in 2016. So I've always had roles and opportunities really focused first, primarily in the first part of my career in finance and accounting, sales and marketing, and then really moved into this new world of innovation. With Accenture, specifically enterprise tech, we're thinking about AI, robotics process automation when I first joined, and blockchain. Now, fast forward to 2024, thinking about space tech and robotics, quantum computing. But I think the underlying thread here has always been around innovation and new products and services that can serve, everyone, not just one demographic, but all demographics. So by having these roles really focused on entrepreneurship, supporting startups, specifically in the enterprise tech space, I always tell people I do enterprise tech by day, and now I'm in beauty and CPG at night. And I think it was just being exposed to so many wonderful entrepreneurs. Like my day job right now is running Accenture's Black Founders Development Program. So every day I have the unique pleasure of talking to amazing entrepreneurs that are creating products and services to serve everyone. And I think that has just inspired me to find the one problem that I wanted to solve, which was creating more inclusive sun care products, bringing men of color into the conversation, but creating a formulation and a product that could work for everyone from porcelain to espresso skin tones and regardless of your gender identity.
Okay, very interesting. And so, like you said, you worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, you have your own company yourself. So, based on your being inside the industry, what are the current trends in the market that you are aware of? What winds are blowing? What are you noticing?
Yeah, I would say right now, everybody is focused on generative AI and how it is going to totally disrupt the work that we're doing today. One great book, that I think I always recommend folks, and it's just a plug to Accenture and our wonderful CTO, Paul Doherty, but Human Plus Machine, and just really thinking around hey, how AI and specifically generative AI is going to be your coworker of the future. It's really there to be this guy to hopefully do a lot of the manual things that you don't want to do, and then allowing you to focus on more high value strategic and creative work. So I think that's like kind of one of the biggest trends that we're seeing across the enterprise. Like it's able to do a lot of things and a lot of functions that previously have been done by humans. So it's really around how is every industry, whether you're in beauty or in CPG or in traditional other roles, whether it's in retail, oil and gas, financial services, etc. Like, how are you going to be able to use this emerging technology to make the workforce better, make them more efficient, and really to be able to create better products and services for their customer base moving forward. I think Gen AI is like probably a big one. Quantum computing is another area, like how we're going to be able to solve these complex challenges, ending world hunger or figuring out, what is the right DNA sequence to hopefully combat some of these rare diseases that we have that are out there ailing our human population. And I think space tech, the next frontier, we're here on Earth. We do have limited resources. So just really thinking about what's beyond. So those are some of the things that have been of key interest to me. Generative AI, like here in the now, thinking about quantum computing to solve some of these bigger world challenges that scientists and wonderful researchers have been cracking out for years. And then space tech, like the new frontier. I'm a big sci-fi geek and nerd, and I love just seeing the dramatized versions of those on shows, but seeing the practical applications now used by some organizations has been really exciting.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I'm also very passionate about AI. That's why I majored in data science, and especially the applications and the opportunities for innovation in healthcare. Like this type of tools can and technology can really save lives. So
Yeah.
yeah, passionate about that as well. Now I want to transition a little bit and ask you a little more about your company. So could you tell me about your company and what products are over at MyBlockSkin?
Yeah, so right now we have our hero product, which is the Clear Coat Gel, which is a wonderful, clear SPF product that we have. It's going to be obviously in this small size for the face. We have a larger format for the body, but as you can see here on this video, it's not leaving a single white cast, but it is protecting you from those UVA and UVB rays, which is hyper important when you're thinking about protecting from skin cancers and melanomas. As we know, just wearing sun care products daily can reduce your percentage of getting skin cancers and melanomas by 50%. So it's really important that we move the conversations and dispel the misconceptions that you only need it from Labor Day or from Memorial Day to Labor Day, but all year round. But really specific with this business, it has been a passion project for mine for quite some time. So September 2022, I'm in New York with my friends. I said, I really want to launch this brand. And it was My Block Skin because it was a play on words. I was thinking about sunblock. I was thinking about, I'm Jamaican. So most of the times when Jamaicans try to say black, it sounds like block. So I was trying to do a whole play on words there with My Block Skin. Um, then fast forward to December, I was with some friends at a taco night in Chicago, and I was like, I really want to do this, and I'm going to launch this brand by Juneteenth, so June 19th of 2023. And from then, it has been a whirlwind, Rachel. I got my samples in from contract manufacturers. I was talking to contract manufacturers and cosmetic formulators in the US, in Canada, in Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, China, the UK, and Spain, all trying to find the best formulation that wouldn't leave that white cast for porcelain skin tones or to espresso skin tones, but then also had the great skincare benefits. People often forget that sun care can help with hyperpigmentation and dark spots and photo aging, as well as protecting you from those UVA and UVB rays. So I spent the next couple months really just trying to find the formulation, doing focus groups with friends and family to find the gel format that I love, which I think is great for the skin. I wear it every day and helps me to keep my nice youthful glow. But outside of that, being an entrepreneur and working in my day job with entrepreneurs, as you know, women and minorities still only get around 3% of VC funding. So I knew I had to be scrappy because I didn't have a family and friends network that could put in 100,000 or 500,000. So I really, really focused on partnerships in my community to really grow this thing. So even before I had my finalized formulation, I sat on the board for Soho House for their global inclusivity board. And I knew they were having a festival in London that summer. I was like, hey, can I be your official sunscreen? And they said, yeah, because I had been on the board and had a track record of supporting them working with other minority owned businesses, specifically in the food and beverage space, which was amazing for me. Imagine being a young brand and then being able to launch with a global powerhouse like Soho House in their festival. So it was a great opportunity, one, for me to see how would people react to the brand and the packaging and the formulation, understanding that true product market fit, while at the same time getting social proof from another established brand for people to be like, ooh, my black skin, that looks luxury, it's premium, it's accessible. So that's the journey I went down. You know, I had a digital launch on Juneteenth, direct to consumer with my website, but then I had a first in-person activation the 4th of July weekend in London. And from there, we have just been growing the business, focused on new product development. So not just this gel, we're going to be launching a cream, a lip balm, some sprays, and other things in the future. But right now, it's really just been focused, I would say, in this first year of business. Sometimes people are like, oh my God, you've only been out for a year, but it feels like you guys have done so much. But being able to launch on Juneteenth digitally, have a Soho Festival activation in July, getting a free billboard in Times Square in September during New York Fashion Week, thanks to, you know, one of our investors and community members. From there, being able to strike a deal with the NFL to be their official sunscreen for the London games was also really exciting for us. And then really just going in stealth mode to work towards a retail launch, which I'll hopefully be able to talk about in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think it's also proof that this type of product is really needed.
Yes.
And it's crazy that it wasn't like it didn't exist before. So yeah, thank you for sharing this. And I really want to give you you kind of touch upon this already, but I really want to give you the opportunity to dive into this topic. And could you explain me what unique value do my Block Skin products bring to your customers?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I want to touch on something that you said earlier. You know, it's a very interesting thing, especially in the beauty industry. Products have always existed, but have organizations and companies prioritize everyone that they're serving? Not necessarily. When we even just think about beauty and cosmetics, specifically like foundation colors, it was drastic when Rihanna launched Fenty Beauty and had 40 different shades. Like, obviously, these organizations and these big conglomerates have always had access to the contract manufacturers to do this, but they really haven't prioritized everyone, from porcelain to espresso skin tone, or when you're thinking about scientifically the Fitzpatrick scale, it's 0 or 1 through 6. And 1 through 3 are more fair tones, and then 4, 5, and 6 are some of the darker skin tones. And for so long, the beauty industry has prioritized the fairer skin tones and not so much the darker skin tones. So it's interesting, you know, when you were saying earlier, like, yes, products have existed, but they haven't always thought of everyone on this global planet to serve as their customer. So I think just seeing wonderful examples like Fenty Beauty, Black Girl Sunscreen, and Supergroup who have been pushing the narrative, one, to use sunscreen daily, two, for more skin tones and skin types, was really sort of the pathway and the runway for me to develop this brand, to develop this business. And for my own use case was really just bringing men of color into the conversation. For so long, as you know, beauty and skincare and even sun care has primarily focused on, you know, the female consumer. And in this world that we're living in, where folks can identify male, female, non-binary, I wanted to create a brand that felt inclusive to all of those representations of individuals that we have on this earth. That's why I wanted to call it My Block Skin. That's why, you know, with just our messaging and everything like that, I just wanted to be as inclusive as possible. And to answer your question around our unique selling propositions, it's really around, first, the gel format, the clear coat that we have within our proprietary formulation that doesn't leave that white cast, that has beautiful elements of aloe vera and cucumber extracts that really moisturize the skin, doesn't clog the pores, but is still having that functional effect of protecting you from those UVA and UVB rays, is really, I think, the unique selling proposition for our brand and what we're trying to do. A lot of people who are thinking about sun care historically go to the beach and use it. I want this to be a lifestyle product that's used every day, not just something that you see, you're on the beach and you're looking like Casper the Ghost or gray like an elephant. Like, no one wants that. So I think those are some of the unique selling propositions for us. Really, that clear, great format. It's clean. It has a nice limited scent to it, that won't affect anyone who has like hyperallergenic issues or anything like that. And then just making sure that we're inclusive to everyone and bringing everyone into the conversation to really disrupt an industry that has really only focused on that Fitzpatrick scale 1 through 3 for so long.
Okay, thank you for sharing this. And so you started this company, like you said, last year. So it's still recent, and I'm sure there has been challenges along the way to get where you are today. So I want to ask you, what are some of the challenges of being the CEO at MyBlockSkin? What do the day-to-day challenges look like for you?
Yeah, I would say number one challenge has always been around access to the right funding at the right time. Typically when folks start businesses, it's usually the founders and people bootstrap, and then you go to your family and friends, and then you hopefully get your MVP, some sales, some revenue, and then you go down the path of like revenue-based financing or maybe venture capital, angel investors, family offices. And for entrepreneurs that do not have very strong, solid networks, that have deep financing pockets to help you with your entrepreneurial endeavors, then you run into those issues. A lot of communities, women and minorities, are not short on ideas. Sometimes they're just short on the access to capital and the people that they're pitching to actually understand the businesses that they're creating and understanding that things are not niche. When women are creating feminine products and saying, hey, I'm looking, and then an investor who might be a white male says, "Oh, that's a niche industry," and women are like, "Well, we're more than 50% of the planet. How is this niche?" So, just navigating those sorts of complexities as it relates to try to find financing, making sure that when you're talking to investors, they're focused on promotion questions and not just prevention questions as it relates to your market size, your opportunity, and the problems that you're trying to solve. So, those are some of the challenges that I had to deal with being an early stage entrepreneur, especially in the CPG space, because everyone's so focused on tech. You see these crazy tech valuations and people raising money, and it's cool and exciting. I think tech is going to be great, but there's still some great space for CPG companies. At the end of the day, people are going to still need sunscreen. Especially all around the world. When you think about the global south and the UV indexes being higher, they're like, people are going to need to protect their largest organ, the skin, from these things. So I would say those are some of the challenges. And then tactically with the business, I think just navigating the regulatory environment, because sun care, interestingly enough, the rest of the world usually is kind of regulated as a cosmetic product. But in the US, it's regulated as an over-the-counter drug done by the FDA. So even just navigating what kind of ingredients can go in your US, Canada product versus your European Union and broader regions like Southeast Asia and those sorts of things. So that's kind of been a challenge as well. It's like, oh, I have a great product. Okay. Oh, wait, this is just for the US market, or this is just for the EU market, or the EU having higher cosmetic standards and it's great and you have a great formulation. Oh, but because the FDA hasn't approved that active ingredient, you can't necessarily sell this at a retailer in the US. So I think those have been some of those challenges and those nuances of just navigating the regulatory environment as it relates to the product or service that you're creating. So that's been it for me, like more around financing, just high level, because those are the things that women and minorities have to deal with. Black founders get 1% of VC funding. And yes, we need to do more to create businesses, not just in CPG, but in tech and space and, oceanography and all those other areas where VC funding is flowing. But still, nonetheless, just having good access to capital is a challenge that many founders face, including myself. And then two, specific to this business, I would just say navigating the regulatory environment and how this product is regulated in different regions, especially when you're trying to develop a global brand that's trying to disrupt an industry. I didn't want this to just be a small little mom and pop shop.
Mm.
I'm not making sun care in my kitchen like a lot of beauty founders. Beauty, like hair care and skincare, yes, you can start in your kitchen, but sun care, I started with scale in mind, and I really wanted to make sure that once I launched globally, that I would be able to have formulations that would comply with regulatory standards.
Yeah, considering the ambition of this project, and also all the challenges that you mentioned, what do you think is the type of mindset that is needed to be a successful CEO?
Yeah, you really have to have a growth mindset, and really just have an unwavering commitment and faith within yourself, within your team, and within your community that you know by any means necessary, by hell or high water, or whatever phrase that folks use, that you are going to accomplish your goals and your dreams. And as the kids say, sometimes you got to be a little delulu as a founder. You got to really just be like, I have a great product.
Mm.
That's the main thing. If you just start with a great product, that's the main important thing. Then the funding will hopefully come, the customers will come. But if you focus on developing a great product or service as an entrepreneur and as a CEO, the rest will follow as you gain that exposure and that access to other rooms and spaces. And that's really what I've been focusing on. And now I like to tell people, I'm essentially trying to be the Red Bull of the sun care industry. I just love how Red Bull was just like, yeah, we got this great energy drink. Red Bull gives you wings, but you see them everywhere. Formula One, you see them with music festivals and supporting artists and creatives. You see them with golf and extreme sports, BMX. You see them at beatboxing tournaments. It's become like this huge lifestyle brand. If they just focused on, we're selling energy drinks and we just want to be everywhere, vodka, Red Bull, whatever it might be, they wouldn't be the global powerhouse brand that they are today, touching all aspects of life. That's what I want My Block Skin to be in the future, especially since My Block Skin is this lifestyle brand that's focused on you living in the moment, living outdoors. I mean, at the end of the day, one thing that you're always going to interact with is the sun. Regardless if it's blue skies or gray skies, that sun is still there penetrating through those clouds with those UVA and UVB rays. So for me, I'd say having that growth mindset, that forward thinking view of what your vision is and what you want to become, and doing everything that you can to advance. It's all around like, how do you set intentions and then set uh, a set of actions to ensure that you get to that intention, and knowing that everything is not going to go completely to plan. But I think as long as you have that intention and you're flexible with the actions that it'll take to get there, but keeping that intention in mind, that North Star in mind, you'll be just fine as an entrepreneur.
Okay, thank you for sharing this. I definitely agree with all of this. Now I want to transition a little bit because, as you know, we're a data analytics company. So I'm always curious to hear about other people's experiences when it comes to data in the industry. So I want to ask you, in your experience, how does data influence decision making and strategies in the beauty industry?
Yeah, I think data is so key and so important with making any sort of business decision. At first coming into this market, I'm like, what is the size of the market today as it relates to sun care? I think it just hit 11 billion in 2022, and it's going to get up to like 23 billion by 2030. So just understanding, is there going to be growth in this sector? Understanding other trends around, as it relates to the consumer that we're bringing in. Like 80% of Black consumers feel like there's not a sun care product that's out there that's actually made and formulated for them, but they would be willing to purchase if it was out there. Understanding some of those data statistics are important for an entrepreneur to be like, all right, yeah, I think this is going to be a worthwhile business. Because at the end of the day, the statistics around what the market size is talking about today. If you create a product for individuals that are not even in it and you create a market expansion opportunity, this is even bigger than what the data is what the story that the data is telling today. Even other things like usage. I'm like, okay, women are more likely to use sun care products than men. Men are more likely to reapply every 2 hours. Okay, what does that say as far as like customer usage and buying behaviors and habits and those sorts of things? Just understanding those different nuances. When you're thinking about retailers that you're working with, okay, I know the sun care market in this particular industry is 400 million in this geographic area. Oh, this retailer has 50%, 55% of the market share. Oh, this is good to know. Now, if I do launch with them, then do I spend my marketing dollars in the most efficient way to target this demographic through this particular retailer to ensure that I get a little slice of that pie. So I think data and analytics is just so important with understanding your customer as a beauty business, understanding the retail and distribution partners that you can potentially tap into, so that you can build out that plan to then say, when you're working with investors, I hope to get 1% of this pie. How are you going to get that? Because I've identified these retailers that I know have this potential market share, and I can spend X dollars and get 20% return on advertising spend, whatever it might be. Data is so important to at least help you defend your business case and defend your business. And then at the end of the day, bring in the mission and everything forward. So, data and analytics, I think, are just so key with beauty and CPG, just in general, to understand where your customers are. So, how do you place the right product in front of them at the right time that will hopefully influence a buying decision? And the only way you can do that is not just by, oh, I think, and it might, but if you can show that with data and with analytics, it just makes a solid bulletproof business case.
Definitely. And long term as well, it allows you to anticipate trends and consumer preferences so that you don't fall behind the trends and you keep innovating to keep performing in
Exactly.
the industry. So
Yeah.
now I want to ask you, could you share insights on the role of data analytics in understanding consumer preferences and trends within your company?
Yeah, so multicultural is a big, trend right now in beauty, and making sure that the multicultural segment is being accounted for. Even if we just think about America, the new majority is going to be the ethnic minorities that are making up the country. So for folks like myself, My Block Skin, and other CPG and beauty brands, you have to realize, okay, wow, this demographic is going to be the new majority. All right, what is their discretionary spending power? What are they currently spending in these places? Do I even have any products that are matching this new customer demographic that's going to be having a higher customer purchasing spending power? Yes or no? So for me specifically, I already knew that I was underserved since I was growing up, having that Casper and elephant gray look when I put on sun care products. And then just seeing the trends that more and more folks are focused on multicultural brands that actually serve and benefit them, was key in obviously launching My Block Skin, because I knew this trend was coming. I knew that, we would become the new majority, at least as it relates to North America. And then what our preferences are with using sun care. We don't want that white cast, especially if we're using it daily. Who wants to walk around looking like Casper the Ghost? No one. Especially with sun care, you have to blend the aesthetic of skincare with the effectiveness and efficiency of what the sun care product is, and why in the States it's an over-the-counter drug. Like, you want to protect your skin, but you don't want to look crazy. You don't want to look like a clown when you're walking into the office. So I think understanding those trends and those unique preferences of the demographic that I was going after, especially from a multicultural perspective, like, it was very, very important to understand the data and the analytics in that space. And even just understanding, like, when we think more broadly multicultural, like, spend way more on beauty and healthcare and hair products than the current majority that are in the States. So if you don't even understand that, or the nuances of where people are spending these funds, how they're getting product recommendations, if it's a male identifying individual that's going to the barbershop that might get, those sorts of things, or another individual that's at a spa that gets their sun care recommendations, from their esthetician, like, how do you understand all of these preferences and behaviors to then make sure that your product is in these key moments that matter for the audience that you're targeting? And that, for me, has just been the case of just trying to understand holistically over this last year, where are my customers getting their product information from today? Where are those key moments that matter, where I could potentially plug my product in with key trusted advisors for this demographic to ensure that my brand is at the top of mind. And all of that stuff you can understand with proper data and analytics, and using the right tools and platforms that are out there at our disposal that you can procure for your business to then get that information.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing this. And now I want to ask you about your projects. You mentioned future products are coming, also growth
Mhm.
overall. But what is your vision for the next 12 months?
Yeah, I would say the next 12 months, this big retail launch that we're going to be having this summer, and which I'm really excited about. And then from there, really just expanding into new geographies. Overall, I feel like, as I said, the multicultural segment within sun care has been underserved. And I'm really excited about just having this brand expand outside of the UK and Ireland, expanding outside of North America as it relates to the US and Canada, and really permeating, the global South, where I think this product is definitely needed when we're thinking about Brazil, Ghana, Nigeria, India, and other parts of Southeast Asia. I really think that this brand and this product and this mission can resonate well. But really, tactically, over the next 12 months, it's really just knocking this first retail partnership out of the park, and then just landing and expanding in new geographies moving forward.
Okay, exciting things coming then. Now I have a last question. It's a loaded one, but I think it's a good one to kind of wrap things up. So I want to ask you, what are some of the most important things you've learned in your career?
I would say truly advocating for yourself and speaking up, it has always been important for me and in my career. Sometimes, especially, as a young Black man going into corporate America in a space that historically didn't really have much representation, when you look specifically within the confines of North America where I grew up. If I grew up in a different country, it would be a different landscape. But sometimes I always felt like I had to fit a cookie cutter mold of what this profession was. So when I was in finance, oh my God, did I have to get my Patagonia vest and like look the part of everything that I saw of everyone that was in that space? But, you know, balancing, how do you maintain your authenticity as a professional, showing up, delivering, but then advocating for yourself and showcasing your voice? If I didn't advocate for myself or talk about my passions and my purpose in that intersection point, I think a lot of the roles that I was able to gain, even the role that I have right now at Accenture running our Black Founders Development Program, would not have been placed in front of me if I wasn't like a true advocate for myself and always articulating to people above me, below me, beside me, all around me, this is what I care about. I care about supporting Black entrepreneurs, women, minority entrepreneurs, creatives, and those folks within academia, to ensure that we are all getting our proportional slice of the VC pie, our proportional slice of the opportunity pie. If I didn't speak about these things on platforms like this, or internally with my career counselors, or like my internal board of advisors, which everyone should have, your mentors, your sponsors, your advisors in your career, like I don't think I would be where I am right now. To have opportunities, as I said earlier, to be on Soho House's Global Inclusivity Board. I am on the advisory board for the University of Birmingham's Business School in the UK, a young man from Chicago. Um, and I think really, that piece of advice that I got earlier on my career of just being authentic, speaking and articulating and advocating for yourself in any room that you walk in. That has been my journey to my passion purpose intersection point. And I would just advise anyone listening to this episode and hearing this conversation between Rachel and I, just always remember to advocate for yourself in any room, even as scary as it might be. If you are authentic in that and intentional with that, no, not being disrespectful in any way, but really being true to yourself, I think beautiful and amazing things can happen.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think it also helps having no regrets
Yeah.
because you know that you've been yourself and that you tried. And so, yeah, definitely agree. Thank you so much for sharing this. And thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank
Now,
you so much.
for the people that are listening or watching and that want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Dujon C. Smith is my handle on most social media platforms. So that is my LinkedIn, URL, Instagram. Those are probably the great platforms that you can reach me on, that I'm available. And would love to talk to you about anything enterprise tech or beauty and CPG or just broader, academia VC landscape. So please reach out. And again, Rachel, thank you to you and the team for having me on this platform. It's been amazing talking to you today and just sharing a little bit about my story.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.